Well, welcome in Space Coast Daily. We have a treat for you here today. We have Representative Mike Haridopolos, who just got done with a hearing here that we're going to talk a little bit about space and the hearing that he was a part of. And Mike, we thank you for taking time with Space Coast Daily. We're going to talk a little bit about this meeting, and I want you just to talk a little bit about what was the point of this meeting. Obviously, we're talking about the budget, but what was discussed in this hearing?
Well, Zach, it's so important to our community that space stays number one here in the United States. We are facing real challenges, especially from China abroad. We want to get back to the moon by 2028. And fortunately, President Trump has made a fantastic selection in our new NASA administrator, Jared Isaacman. He was the person, of course, answering the tough questions today about the future in space. And I'm
Mhm.
happy to report that we are fully engaged with a successful mission on Artemis 2. That means that it is the linchpin so that we can move forward. It was a great success, as you know, and we're going to see that program fully funded once again. It is essential that we make our way back to the moon. We're going to make two attempts in 2028, and I feel like we're on the right track at this point, especially under Jared Isaacman's leadership. There'll be some ongoing budget discussions, as we always do here in Washington, D.C., but I'm confident that we'll get the funding necessary to make a successful run at the moon. And I thought he answered some really tough questions as we are moving forward in modernizing NASA, using the public-private partnerships with amazing companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin found right here in Brevard County.
Mike, with the Artemis 2 launch and the competition that for the space race, yeah, one of the things that you guys discussed in the meeting was competition, geopolitical competition between countries, and one of the countries that you mentioned was China, and they're considered a threat at this moment in the space race. Talk a little bit about what the point of what space can do and what's the importance of this race for space and what it means.
Well, the space race is not just about national prestige, being the first to go back to the moon since 1972, and of course, land astronauts, but we have really focused our attention and having the ultimate high ground when you think militarily. It's not just an exploration mission, it's not just for the science of it all, it is also national security. As you know better than Isaac, the Chinese have done all types of nefarious things in space. This includes trying to steal some of our satellite information, spying on Americans that way. Second, that the Russians, who are in line with the Chinese, actually collided satellites in space, and that's caused a lot of space debris around circling the Earth, which causes all types of chaos for the over 10,000 satellites that currently circle the Earth. And we need to make sure that we have our satellites in place because, if nothing else, GPS technology that is so essential to the military as we face different engagements, most recently, of course, in Iran. Finally, as far as going to the moon, there's the energy component there. That's called helium-3. That allows you to produce nuclear energy more efficiently, less expensively, and also without some of the waste found in conventional nuclear power production. And finally, on the south pole of the moon, there is water. And that means hydrogen and oxygen. So if we create a moon base, which is our goal, we would launch actually from the moon to get to places like Mars. It would be a heck of a lot easier, as you know, to get out of the moon's atmosphere than it is Earth's atmosphere, because after all, it's 8 million pounds of thrust to get a huge rocket like the Artemis out into space because of the realities of the atmosphere and gravity. Whereas on the moon, we don't have some of those challenges. So it's a step-by-step process. And what's so great is that we have a clear process in which to win this battle against the Chinese and get that ultimate high ground and make sure we have the best military technology possible. God forbid, should we get into a hot war with any nation, let alone China.
In the hearing, you guys talked about the proposed budget for the fiscal year, which requests $18.8 billion for NASA. That's roughly a 23% cut from last year. One of the things that you guys talked about was private-public partnerships and being able to kind of maybe supplement that cut that was from last year and being able to help you going forward. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, remember, the president's budget is the starting point. Last year, we had very similar numbers. We were able to work with Republicans and Democrats alike in order to make that number pretty much zero. It was full funding for NASA. And as you remember, Zach, we got an additional 9.9 billion for NASA in the big budget bill that was also passed in July. So you had over $34 billion put into NASA. I don't know if we'll get 34 billion, but I think you'll see the final number a lot closer to 24 billion than 18 billion. But it's a discussion we need to have. As you know, we're moving towards making some challenging cuts in the budget, but everyone is focused on space. Artemis 2 proved that we are moving in the right direction. And I think you'll see Republican and Democrat support so that NASA's budget will move in the right direction, because we know the necessity of us getting not only, again, the military components, but the exploration and of course, the communication and technology we gain by being in this space race.
We're here with Congressman Mike Haridopolos talking space, and just got done with a hearing talking about the proposed budget from the president's budget for next year. Mike, you're in DC right now. This is the first interview that we've done with you remotely in DC. So far, how do you like DC, and how's the weather? And do you like the weather up there better than down here? I think I know the answer to that.
Florida is the best. And if I could be anywhere, it'd be in Florida. But this is an incredible honor to serve in Washington, D.C. As you know, Zach, my wife is one of the higher ups in the Health and Human Services Agency. That's one where RFK Jr. serves as a former medical doctor. In the patient's course, still is a doctor. She is one of the main people driving American healthcare policy, doing everything we can to not only reduce costs, but to improve the quality of care. And so we are both up here in Washington, as we are now empty nesters. Washington is a fabulous place for a former history teacher, which I am. But it is a thrill to represent our community. And I feel we made some great progress in our first year in office. As you know, we got record funding for NASA. We got record funding for the Indian River Lagoon, which is so vital. And we were able to provide some real quality tax relief for people who are on Social Security, let alone earn overtime and tips. And so it's been a really exciting first year, and luckily I've hit the ground running as I chair our very important committee to our community, that being the Space Committee. And the other committee that I serve on is called Financial Services. That's seen as one of the top 4 committees in Congress. And on that committee, I serve as what's called the whip. The whip's job is to basically make sure that you get the votes you need in committee to move the bill out and get an overall vote by the entire House of Representatives. And so we've done our best to make this new transition, but it's always best to be back home in Brevard County, as we love the ocean and the river, and more importantly, be around our friends and hearing what's going on in the community, so we can take those ideas back to Washington, D.C. when we're back up here.
Mike, we thank you for taking time with Space Coast Daily. I got one more question for you, and we'll let you get out. I know you're very busy right now, being in DC and stuff. But so, what's next on the agenda for you? What are you trying to work on right now? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, first and foremost, we want to make sure that our homeland security is fully funded. As you know, there's been some fights over border security and ICE funding. I think both need to be funded fully, because sadly, 10 million people plus maybe even more entered the country illegally during Joe Biden's presidency. Fortunately, we have secured the border, but there are a lot of bad people who came into the country, and that's why we need to extract them from the country, or at least put them in prison because of some of the heinous acts that they've done. We're in the progress of that. I think we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. But until then, I'm not taking a paycheck. I don't think we should get paid until the government is fully set up, and that's why I've withheld my own pay. And the other thing, of course, working on is that we want to make sure that we continue the right direction of taking on fraud. Zach, you and I have heard these horrible stories out of places like Minnesota and California, rampant fraud. I just left a meeting where we're finally prosecuting some of these horrible people that are stealing money, whether it be at hospices or education programs. And we need to be aggressive, because people work incredibly hard to earn those taxpayer dollars, and we want to fight fraud. So those are the main things that I'm working on currently. Of course, always working on space issues, always working on issues to help our lagoon. And I think we'll see similar funding for our community back at home, because it's so essential that we provide for the local needs. And I'm proud to be at the tip of the spear here on the House of Representatives. And I work very close with our Senator Ashley Moody, and of course our senior Senator Rick Scott.
I got one more question. The Space Coast enlistment ceremony that you attended last week. Talk a little bit about how great that was, and seeing over 250 enlistees enlist in the military. Talk a little bit about your appearance in that, and Sheriff Ivy was there, and we had a bunch of other host people there. But you were in attendance. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, Zach, well, thank you so much for bringing that up. What a thrill to see these young people making a commitment to our country, to defend our country, over 250 people. Just a fabulous ceremony. My hat really goes off to the Brevard County School Board. Matt Susan came up with this brilliant idea. All the members of the board supported it. Of course, our superintendent Rendell did a great job, and just seeing literally over 1,000 people out there, as you guys covered it so well. What an amazing ceremony. I was proud to be the keynote speaker there, really applauding these young people, and also a testament to their parents, who obviously have raised these young people to love their country and to be a part of the greatest military in the world, to defend our freedom right here. And so to see these type of things come together in our community says a lot. We're seeing record enlistments taking place because people are proud to be an American citizen. They know how special that is. And so it was a wonderful day. Again, Matt Susan did a super job. We saw Debbie Mayfield, our state senator, and of course, some of the House members there, like Brian Hodgers. And just all that whole community coming together. And you can't have a community event without our buddy Wayne Ivey, as you said. He was there in spirit and in person. And we just love our country. And to see these young people make that commitment was awesome. And Colonel Chapman, who leads Patrick Space Force Space, actually inducted those folks right there last Friday. So thrilled to be part of it and really see Americans stepping up and serving our country.
Thank you very much, Congressman Mike Haridopolos, and we look forward to another conversation with you. Try to make this a regular thing. So we look forward. We like talking with you, and we appreciate it.
Anytime, Zach. It's my pleasure. And as I mentioned before, my wife and I love serving our country today. And even our son, as you know, is in the United States Air Force. And let's make this a regular conversation. We want to make sure we know it's on the Space Coast's mind. And you guys are at the tip of the spear there. You guys have been so amazing about covering the important events in our community. So thank you so much, Zach.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a great week.